The phone lit up in the dark, and his mother's name glowed on the screen while thunder rolled outside his apartment window. And he stared at it as if it were an inconvenience instead of a warning, as if it were just another call he could return later, not knowing that in another part of the city she was sitting alone in a dimly lit bedroom with one trembling hand pressed against her chest and the other gripping her phone tightly, listening to each ring echo through an empty house that suddenly felt too large and too quiet. And when the call went unanswered, the silence around her grew heavier, pressing against her ears, filling the spaces between each shallow breath, while miles away he flipped his phone face down on the wooden table, convincing himself that he needed rest more than he needed conversation. Unaware that this small decision would carve a permanent wound into his memory, because at that exact moment her heart skipped in a way that made fear crawl up her spine, her vision blur, and her voice shrink into a whisper as she tried to call him again, hoping to hear the comfort of her son's voice just once more. And the storm outside his window intensified, as if nature itself were urging him to pick up. But he remained seated, staring at nothing, while in her quiet room the ticking clock on the wall counted down seconds she did not realize were her last. And every ring that went unanswered tightened the invisible thread between them, until it stretched to a breaking point, setting the stage for a night that would replay in his mind again and again. A night defined not by what he did, but by what he failed to do. And by the time he finally pressed play on her voicemail and heard the faint tremor in her breathing, the sound of fear she tried to hide behind gentle words, it was already too late to change the ending that had begun the moment he chose silence over response. A single missed call that would echo louder than any scream and haunt him far longer than the storm that raged outside. The phone vibrated against the wooden desk, a sharp, restless sound in the quiet apartment. Ethan glanced at the screen. "Mom calling," he exhaled slowly. Outside, rain lashed against the window like fingers demanding to be let in. The city lights blurred into streaks of gold and red. He was tired, a long shift, too many voices, too many problems that were not his. The phone kept vibrating. He let it ring. It stopped. Silence returned, thick and heavy. He told himself he would call her back in a few minutes. He walked to the kitchen. The refrigerator hummed softly, a lonely mechanical whisper. He poured water into a glass. His hands trembled slightly, though he told himself it was only exhaustion. The phone lit up again. Mom calling. His jaw tightened. She had been calling more often lately, asking about his meals, asking about his sleep, asking when he would visit. He loved her, but sometimes her voice carried a weight of guilt he could not carry. The vibration grew louder against the wood. He stared at it. Let it ring. The rain intensified. Thunder rolled across the sky like distant drums. The call ended. A message notification appeared. One new voicemail. Ethan did not open it. He placed the phone face down. He told himself he needed a shower first. Steam filled the bathroom. Hot water struck his shoulders. He closed his eyes. For a moment, he felt suspended in warmth, far from responsibility, far from the sound of that ringing phone. When he stepped out, the apartment felt colder. The rain had slowed to a faint drizzle. He dried his hair and walked back to the living room. The phone lay where he had left it, silent. He picked it up. His reflection stared back from the black screen. Pal. Tired. He unlocked it. 3 missed calls. 1 voicemail. He pressed play. Her voice filled the room. Soft. Breathless. Ethan. Sweetheart. There was a tremor in her tone he had never heard before. I know you are busy. I just wanted to hear your voice. There was a pause on the recording. A faint rustle, as if she had shifted in her chair. I am not feeling very well tonight, but it is nothing serious. I think I will be fine. If you can, call me back. I love you. The message ended with a small cough. Dry. Weak. The room felt smaller. The air felt thinner. He checked the time. 47 minutes ago. He pressed her contact to call back. It rang once, twice. No answer. He called again and again. Each ring stretched longer than the last. He imagined her sitting in her old armchair. The floral pattern faded with time. The lamp beside her, casting a warm yellow glow. Her glasses resting low on her nose. He called again. Voicemail. His chest tightened. He grabbed his keys. The hallway outside his apartment smelled of damp carpet and old paint. He ran down the stairs. The rain had stopped completely. The streets shimmered under streetlights. His car engine roared to life. The drive felt endless. Red lights seemed cruel and deliberate. His fingers tapped the steering wheel in frantic rhythm. He kept calling. No answer. When he reached her house, every window was dark. The porch light was off. That light was always on, always waiting. He stepped out of the car. The night air felt sharp against his skin. Too quiet. No crickets. No wind. He hurried to the door. Knocked hard. Mom! His voice echoed in the stillness. He tried the handle. Locked. He fumbled with the spare key hidden under the ceramic flower pot. His hands shook so badly he almost dropped it. The door creaked open. The scent of lavender drifted out. Her favorite candle. The living room lamp was on, casting long shadows against the walls. The television flickered, silently. A cooking show playing to no one. Mom. He stepped inside. His heartbeat pounded in his ears. The house felt frozen in time. A cup of tea rested on the coffee table, untouched. Steam long gone. He walked toward the hallway, each step heavy. The wooden floor groaned beneath his weight. He reached her bedroom door. It was slightly open. A thin line of light cut across the dark hall. He pushed it open slowly. She lay on the bed. Still. Too still. Her hand rested over her chest. Her phone lay beside her pillow, the screen dark. His breath caught in his throat. He crossed the room in 2 steps. Mom. He touched her shoulder. Cold. Not ice, but no warmth of life. Her eyes were closed. Peaceful, as if she had fallen asleep waiting for his voice. The room seemed to tilt. A ringing filled his ears. Not from the phone, from inside his skull. He sank to his knees beside the bed. His hand found hers. Rigid. Unmoving. The silence in that room was louder than any scream. He looked at the phone beside her. One outgoing call. To him, his name glowing faintly in the call history. Duration. 0 seconds. His chest convulsed. He pressed his forehead against her hand. The scent of her lotion lingered faintly. Almond and vanilla, a scent from childhood, from scraped knees and bedtime stories. He remembered ignoring the vibration. He remembered turning the phone face down. He remembered telling himself there would be time. Time felt like a cruel illusion now. The clock on her wall ticked steadily. Indifferent, each second a quiet accusation. He lifted his head slowly. Something on the nightstand caught his eye. An envelope. His name written in her careful handwriting. Ethan. The letters slightly shaky, as if written in effort. He reached for it. His fingers brushed the paper, and in that moment, the weight of what he had missed settled fully into his bones. He tore the envelope open with trembling hands. A single sheet of paper slid out. He unfolded it. Her words stared back at him, and the first line made the air leave his lungs as he read that she had known something was wrong for weeks and had been too afraid to tell him because she never wanted to be a burden, but tonight she felt her heart acting strangely and she had hoped to hear his voice one last time before fear swallowed her completely. And she wrote that if he was reading this, then she was sorry for leaving without saying goodbye properly, and that she had waited by the phone believing he would call back because he always called back eventually, and she believed that even now he was just busy and would walk through the door at any moment, and she wanted him to know that she never blamed him for growing up, never blamed him for choosing his own life. But she wished he would remember that love is measured in moments we choose to answer. And as his vision blurred and tears struck the paper, he noticed the ink near the bottom had smeared as if touched by a falling tear that was not his. And below it, her final line waited for him to see it. And he forced himself to focus on those last trembling words, where she had written that she was scared, and that she needed him, and that she was calling again now, as she placed the pen down beside the bed and reached for the phone with shaking hands, believing with all her heart that this time her son would answer. He sat on the cold bedroom floor with her letter shaking in his hands, and the weight of the silence around him felt unbearable because there was no longer any possibility of another call. No second chance waiting behind a glowing screen, no vibration to interrupt his regret, only the steady ticking of the clock and the faint hum of the lamp beside her bed. And he realized that this was the true punishment, not dramatic or loud, but quiet and endless, a life stretched out before him where every ring of a phone would send a jolt of dread through his chest, where every delayed reply would remind him of that night, where every excuse about being busy would taste bitter on his tongue. And as he looked at her still face, he understood that forgiveness was not something she needed to give him because she had already loved him without condition, but forgiveness was something he could not give himself because he remembered the exact moment he chose to ignore her call. remembered the casual way he turned the phone face down, remembered believing that there would always be more time, and now time felt like a cruel illusion that had slipped through his fingers without warning, and the finality of her absence settled deep into his bones as he pressed his forehead against the edge of the bed and whispered apologies into a room that could no longer hear him, knowing that the echo of that missed call would follow him through every future success, every quiet evening, every ordinary day. A constant reminder that love demands attention in the present and never guarantees tomorrow. And as dawn slowly began to lighten the edges of the curtains and the world outside prepared to wake as if nothing had changed, he understood with painful clarity that his world had shifted forever in the space of a single unanswered call, and that no matter how many times he replayed her voicemail, no matter how tightly he held onto her letter, he would always be haunted by the simple truth that when she needed him most, when fear wrapped around her heart and she reached out into the darkness for her son, he chose silence, and that silence would speak louder than anything else for the rest of his life.